What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a game day edition of the podcast. Eagles, Panthers, 1 o'clock at the Linc today. Before we get started, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Be sure to check me out on social media, Jimbo_Mott, Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, at Jimbo_Mott. Spread the word. Let people know this is a grassroots movement. Let's continue to grow this thing. Still, we're entering our final week now of the gift and food drive, so there still is time to donate. If you want to donate money, the link is in the description to the GoFundMe. Thank you to everybody who has donated so far. If you're doing the reverse advent calendar, you can drop things off at the Maddie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard. If you want to get stuff sent directly here to my house, that's fine as well. Just be sure to let the Maddie Ann Dixon folks know that it's part of our fundraiser. And if you are doing the reverse advent calendar, today's item is granola bars or breakfast bars, either one, like the Nutri-Grain bars or just regular granola bars. But that is our reverse advent calendar of the day. 25 days of kindness. When you go into the office tomorrow or wherever you're working, bring some coffee for everybody, some donuts, maybe a snack or a little treat. Just kind of brighten up the mood as we move closer to the holidays. That's an easy one to do. Just stop, pick up just a little box of donuts or some munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts. Goes a long way in keeping everyone happy. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, does this game for the Eagles need to be a blowout? 75% of you said yes, and I don't disagree. I think this is a team that you need to blow out. This is a team you should blow out. This is a team that if you are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, you need to handle your business. I know they've been playing well. I know they took the Chiefs down to the very end, but this is a team that you need to just dominate from start to finish. So thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show, but it's game day, so you know what it is already. All right, so let's get into this game. And the line has moved up to 13.5. The over-under is only 45.5. So that means Vegas is expecting this to be an Eagles blowout and the Panthers to not really score many points. Good news for the Birds. Devontae and Darius Slay are both playing. We know that Reed Blankenship is out. Dallas Goedert is officially on the IR. He'll be eligible to come back for the last game against the Giants. Sidney Brown is not playing. We've talked about that this week, how that leaves them a little bit short at safety. We may see some, unfortunately, Avonte Maddox. Tristan McCollum is getting the start, so excited to see what he can do. He played well in relief the other day against Baltimore. But how do the Eagles win this game? What are the three keys to victory? And I've been saying it all year. KeyBank, car dealership. Somebody want to sponsor this segment? I'm open for suggestions. But on paper, this is a mismatch in every sense of the word. Panthers are near the bottom in both rushing and passing defense. Eagles, top rushing team in the league, or if they're not the top rushing team, they're number 2. Offensively, the Panthers have struggled. They benched Bryce Young. Bryce Young is back. He's played better since he's been benched, but there's just, on paper, this is a rout. Like, it's not even close. They have been playing well recently, though. They played well against Kansas City. They played well against Tampa Bay, both teams that have playoff aspirations. And the Eagles can be caught in this game, coming off the big win against Baltimore, looking ahead to the big matchup against the Steelers. I know they're both AFC teams, but it's one of those things that you want to play better against the better teams. It's human nature to get up for them. Now, they've been saying the right things all week. Nick Sirianni has done a phenomenal job during this winning streak of getting them ready, but they need to be careful in this game. So what do they need to do to win? first and foremost, I've been saying it for weeks now, get off to a fast start. They need to score in the first quarter. They need to jump on this team early. Don't give them any hope. Let them know they're in for a long day and just kind of hit them full throttle. Impose your will on this team. You can't let this team hang around because they've been playing well. They have the confidence, and if they think they can hang in there, and we talked about this earlier in the week too, this is the part of the season where some guys who are going to be free agents next year are looking to get some good stuff on tape, so they're going to play hard. But I think you're a far superior team. Get off to that fast start and just let them know, not today, not today. Second key, and this is two of the strengths so far this season of the Eagles, dominate both the offensive and defensive lines. Carolina is the worst rushing defense in the league. So pound the rock and spread them out. They also are the worst passing defense in the league. So use the running game, pound the rock, open it up for AJ and Devontae. With Devontae back, that should open some things up, but you got to just dominate up front. Defensively, put some pressure on Bryce Young. This goes back into the first key of getting off to a fast start. Let the Carolina Panthers know that this is going to be a tough day. Jalen Carter, just be Jalen Carter and disrupt everything. Make Bryce Young miserable. He's given up before. That was Anthony Richardson. Never mind. But he's been benched. So, I mean, let him know that we are the superior team. So just dominate offensive and defensive line. And the third one, there's been a lot of Super Bowl talk this week about the Eagles being a Super Bowl team, people talking about making reservations for New Orleans in February. Guess what? Play super this week. Play like a Super Bowl team. Dominate this team. Don't let up. Don't give up late garbage touchdowns. Don't give this team a chance. If this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender like we think they are, they should dominate. Put your foot on their throat and don't let them back up. And honestly, like I said, if you think this is a Super Bowl team, you believe you are a Super Bowl team if you're the Eagles, play like it today. Historically, for as long as I can remember, going back to the old NFC East days when the Cardinals were not that good, the Eagles have always struggled and played down to the competition. They did it all the time with Andy Reid. They've done it somewhat with this team, Cleveland this year, Jacksonville. Don't play with your food. If you're a Super Bowl team, play like it. Leave no doubt. Play like you are. Have the people on ESPN and Fox Sports and all those places talking about how you are just as good as the Detroit Lions. So what does that mean for the pick? And not going to lie, 13.5 points is a lot of points. This is definitely a different team for the Eagles than we saw at the start of this winning streak. And I believe that this is a Super Bowl team. I think they showed it. They went toe-to-toe with the Ravens in their house and thoroughly dominated them pretty much. The Panthers stink. They absolutely stink. And against my better judgment, I know the Eagles can be caught looking ahead. I know this is the quintessential trap game. I can't see the Panthers even being in this game. I think we're going to see a complete game from start to finish from the Eagles. I think you're going to see a lot more passing from Jalen today. I think Saquon could run for 150 yards against this team. I just don't see no way that the Panthers can hang in this game. Even if they get off to a slow start, I think the Eagles are that much better that it's going to be like how it was against Dallas and the Rams and the Giants and those teams where we pulled away late. Give me the Eagles minus 13.5. I actually do like the over in this game as well. 45.5. I think the Eagles put up 30 themselves. I think we're going to see the complete game. I expect to be on the subway midway through the third quarter, heading home to some hot Italian roast beef sandwiches that I'm putting in the crock pot here in a minute. Give me the Eagles minus 13.5. That is the official play. We're 7-5 on the year. Let's make it 8-5. Let's continue this Super Bowl talk and look ahead now next week for the Steelers. Now, could this be a close game? Absolutely. I struggled. I went back and forth all week. At 12.5, I was all for the Eagles. When I saw this morning, it was 13.5. Gave me a little bit of pause. But, I mean, if you really look at it, and again, you can talk about on paper and the stats and all of that all you want. On paper, the Eagles will dominate this game. But I just think this is a focused team. I think they're all the talk, they hear it. As much as they don't want to admit it, they hear it. Everybody, now that the Lions won on Thursday night, they're like, oh, the Lions are back. They're the best team. I think this team comes out and finally does what they should have done against Cleveland, what they should have done against Jacksonville. I think we talked earlier this week about the game back in 2004 when they put up 35 on the Packers before halftime. I could see a repeat of that today. Give me the Eagles minus 13.5. That is the official pick. And the question of the day, let me know your thoughts on this game. Who do you got? Give me a final score prediction. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Give me your predictions for this game. Give me your breakout stars. Who do you think is going to be the GOAT of the game? All of that is fair game on the Back to the Future excuse me, voice and text line. And again, I think fast start, dominate both lines, and play like a Super Bowl team that everybody thinks you are. And this should be the Eagles in dominant fashion. Go to phillygoat.com, get some of your holiday shopping done. Time is running out to get your orders in, to get them delivered. So don't delay. If you're going down to the game, get some shopping done before you go down. That way you don't have to worry about it. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. And if you're driving down, you're listening to me right now. When you're done listening to me, flip over, check out the Clashing Conferences podcast. The NFC East OG boys had another great episode this week, and that is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Show them some love. All right, Flyers up in Boston yesterday. I actually watched most of this game, and the first period they dominated. Matvei Mishkov is just an absolute stud. He had 2 goals in the first period. Flyers had a 3-1 lead, and then the Bruins remembered who they were, turned it on, forced it into overtime, and that's where they won. Flyers lost 4-3, did get the point, and they play a lot of overtime games, man. That's crazy. But, again, they went toe-to-toe with the Bruins. The Bruins are a good team. Flyers are still young, learning how to hold on to leads and things like that. The refs, though, and you know, I always say, the refs don't cause teams to win or lose if you put yourself in better positions. And I do think if the Flyers were in better positions yesterday, it wouldn't have mattered. But there was just a ridiculous amount, the disparity in penalties called. There were some late calls that even the announcers were like, oh, he's going to call the penalty now. Some of the Bruins were questionably taking some dives. Tortorella was fired up, but solid win, or a solid way to get get a point against a good team. I like the Flyers team. I think all of this stuff that they're going through now, once they learn how to hold on to a lead, and it is something, especially with a 2-goal lead. Everybody always says a lot. Sometimes the hardest lead to have in hockey is a 2-goal lead because it's easy to kind of play lax. The other team's pressing more. Once they learn how to not give up leads, this team is going to be good. They could make some noise here later in the season. They're back at it today down in South Philly. They're playing the new Utah Hockey Club tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center. Excuse me. Sixers are in action this afternoon out in Chicago. One Joel Embiid is listed as questionable. He may play, which ultimately does have me kind of wondering if there's way more to this situation than what we think, because he couldn't play at home, but now all of a sudden they're on the road again, and he's questionable to play. Don't know what his conditioning, if he's going to be on a minutes restriction or anything, is going to be like. But that is this afternoon in Chicago. Also in Philly yesterday, the Big Five Classic. St. Joe's won the second straight championship in the Big Five Classic, beating LaSalle. Villanova took third, just crushing my Owls yesterday. And then Drexel took fifth, beating Penn. games weren't really that close. The three teams that won thoroughly pretty much dominated. But Big Five Classic, it's on to conference play now. And that St. Joe's team, I'm telling you, is going to be a lot of fun come February and March. So you heard it here first. And it pains me to say that as a Temple guy, but that St. Joe's team is a fun team to watch. Do have a little bit of Phillies news. It's not what you think. Today, the Classic Baseball Era Committee for the Hall of Fame votes. Dick Allen gets his I don't know if this is his last shot, but gets another shot of finally being inducted into his rightful spot in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That will be announced on January 25th. But if you're out there listening, do the right thing. Put Dick Allen in the Hall of Fame. He has the numbers. He deserves it. Do the right thing. All right, today, got a little bit of a special double header. Two great things happened on this day in Philly sports history, and I did not want to miss either one of them. First, let's go back to 1987, and on this day, the Flyers beat the Bruins 5-2 down at the Spectrum. Brian Propp and Peter Zezel each had 2 goals, but it was Ron Hextall who stole the show, saved 21 shots, but also scored a goal. He was the first ever NHL goalie to take a shot on goal and have it go in. Technically, before him, Billy Smith of the Islanders was credited with a goal back in 1979, but he was credited because he was the last person to touch it, and the team they were playing put it in his own goal. But on this day in 1987, Ron Hextall became the first goalie to score a goal in an NHL game by taking a shot, and then 2 years later, he did it again in the playoffs while shorthanded. And it was one of those things where Hextall had been talking about putting a goal in, and he finally did it. And not too many people were left at the Spectrum to see that. A lot of people had left because the Flyers had a big lead. But Ron Hextall, first NHL goalie to take a shot on goal and have it go in on this day in 1987. He is still, to this day, the only goalie in NHL history to do it twice. And then our other event, on this day in 2013, not sure if we're going to see a repeat of this today or not, but it was the Snow Bowl. And I vividly remember just being at the tailgate. We expected some flurries. All of a sudden, the snow came down pretty hard that day. Next thing you know, there are 7 to 8 inches of snow in South Philly, and it just continued to fall heavily throughout the game. The Eagles scored 28 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Lions 34-20. Shady ran all over the Lions in the snow. You've seen the iconic pictures and him hurdling the guy. Ended up with 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Set the team record for rushing yards, which was later broken this year by Saquon Barkley. And this is also one of my all-time favorite games to ever be to. It's fun to just sit there and watch. Like I said, we had no clue that it was going to snow that bad, and to have 7 or 8 inches of snow. Luckily for us, our seats are so high that we weren't getting snowed on, so it made it a little bit easier to deal with. But a lot of fun. The Eagles win the Snow Bowl on this day back in 2013, scoring 28 points in the fourth quarter to win 34-20. LaShawn McCoy set the team record for rushing yards, which stood until a couple weeks ago when Saquon Barkley ran all over the Rams. All right, finally today, our forgotten teams in Philly sports history. Sticking with soccer. We've had a lot of soccer teams in Philly. None, I don't know, have been as successful as the Union, but our spotlight today is on the Philadelphia Kicks, and they were a professional indoor soccer team from 1995 to 2010. If any team, soccer-wise, is going to compete with the Union, you might have to say it's the Kicks. They entered as an expansion team to the National Professional Soccer League and then moved over to the Major Indoor Soccer League. They made the playoffs. Each year they were in the NPSL, but when they went over to the MISL, the Major Indoor Soccer League, they won 2 championships and were a championship team here in Philly. If you remember, back then it was the Kicks, and the Wings winning championships, and we were talking about having parades because we were that championship starved for these teams. If you remember, we were talking about having a parade for Smarty Jones if he won the Triple Crown. That's how bad it was in Philly sports. The Kicks went on hiatus after the 2010 season, and then the league kind of folded after that. But they played their games at the Spectrum and the Liacouras Center, and for the most part, they were a good team. They won 54% of their games. Peter Pappas, his number 22, was retired by the Kicks. He was a goalie, phenomenal goalie. But the Philadelphia Kicks, major indoor soccer team, is today's Philly forgotten team. And they were pretty good. They were around for a long time, had a lot of success. Never went to a Kicks game, but I know it was a lot of fun. They had a decent turnout, average, I think it was like 6,000 people per game. So they were a legit indoor soccer team. But the Philadelphia Kicks, Kixx, are today's forgotten team. On this day in 2013, it was the Snow Bowl. Eagles beat the Lions 34-20 in an unexpected snowstorm that dropped 7 to 8 inches of snow on South Philly. I think of the official number at the airport was 7.8 inches. I remember leaving it like midway through the third quarter because it was actually getting that bad, and getting stuck on the hills in Roxborough with my buddy, having to get out and push the car up by the 7-Eleven there on Ridge Avenue. That was Matt from Fort Washington. So Matt, if you're listening, remember we had to get out and push your car after that game. And then on this day in 1987, Flyers beat the Bruins, but it was Ron Hextall becoming the first goalie to ever score in an NHL game on a shot on goal. And then he did it again in the playoffs and still is to this day the only goalie to do it twice. All right, classic baseball era Hall of Fame selection committee, do the right thing. Put Dick Allen in. This should be, I think it's a 12-person committee. Should be 12 out of 12 votes. He needs to get 75%, but do the right thing. Put Dick Allen in the Hall of Fame. He certainly has the numbers. He deserves it, and it's been long enough now. You take the media out of it, who didn't like Dick Allen for whatever reason and punished him for that during his vote when his window was open. Do the right thing, Classic Era Committee. Put Dick Allen in the Hall of Fame. We'll have more on the Eagles Panthers tomorrow. 3 keys to the game, though. Get off to a fast start. Don't give the Panthers a chance. Dominate both lines, and then play like a Super Bowl team. You want to be in the conversation. Today's the day you go out. You impose your will on an inferior team and just dominate. Be sure to let me know your picks. Still plenty of time to donate to our gift and food drive. And be sure to just do something nice for the office tomorrow. Celebrate the Eagles' victory. Bring in a box of Joe, box of Munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts, and call it a day. And be the hero of the office on a Monday morning. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 8th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Sunday, and until next time, go Birds.